All right, Dalton, let's start off with the reigning division champions, back-to-back division champions in the AFC North. That is the Baltimore Ravens. They went 12-5 last year. They lost in the divisional round last year too. And listen, this is a team, it just feels like they're right on the cusp of grabbing that Lombardi trophy, the first one for Lamar Jackson. This is a team that's loaded offensively and defensively, Dalton. But honestly, their biggest strength of this entire team, I would probably say, is their ground game between Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
Absolutely. When you look at the efficiency that they run with now on the ground, and I know Lamar Jackson's gotten so much better as a passer in the last 2 years under Todd Monken, but you look at this team and their rushing attack, there's so often where it's just unstoppable. They went 11-0 last season when Derrick Henry ran for at least 90 yards. It's maybe the greatest read option tandem we've ever seen in the NFL. You've got a two-time MVP quarterback who also balances things out with his arm, and we've got Derrick Henry, who last year you could argue had his most efficient season, 6 yards per carry, highest rushing grade of his career, led the NFL in missed tackles forced. I mean, everything you could ask for in a ground game out of your backfield, you get it out of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and the entire rest of the team and the pace of Ravens games is really determined by how much they dominate on the ground. The first hope, really, it's kind of that classic thing of you can't stop them, you can only hope to contain them. That's what you have to do. You just can't let this team run for 250, 300 yards on you, or the game is over before it starts. But the fact that they have these two guys to start their offense, to be the engine of their offense in the backfield, really seems like it's unfair a lot of days.
Absolutely. Baltimore had a 94.5 team rushing grade last year. Not only was that the best of any team in the NFL last year, that was the best of any team in PFF history, dating all the way back to the 2006 NFL season, over 18 seasons worth of data. Baltimore had the best team rushing grade we've ever given out over a single season. I want to remind you guys that they had an A in our 2025 NFL draft grade and a B- in free agency grade too. So a team that was already very good, had a great offseason this year too. The one question mark I would say for Baltimore right now is their edge rushers. I think it's a decent unit overall, but they're kind of waiting for some youngsters to step up and become a star on that defense. None of their players on their edge unit had a pass rush grade above a 74.7. So none of them had a 75 pass rush grade last year. And as a unit, they're outside the top 20 in pressure rate and outside the top 20 in pass rush win rate. Odafe Owe could take another step in his development, or you really relying maybe a second-round rookie in Mike Green. A lot of people thought could have been a first-round pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Maybe he can help out a lot in that department too and become a star like a lot of people thought he could be coming out of Marshall. But as of right now, that's the one position Baltimore has right now where I don't really see a true difference maker or a true star on their team.
Yeah, no, it was either that or their pair of guards on offense are just mediocre right now, and they're going to be playing a new left guard with Patrick McCarry leaving in free agency. But yeah, they're edge defenders. And look, it's kind of hard to find a lot of weaknesses with this Ravens team because they don't really have that Achilles heel. Even when we talk about their edge defenders, they're just solid instead of great, right? They just don't have that Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons type of presence.
TJ Watt even, like
TJ Watt off the edge, right? You say they just don't have one of those guys, even like the other three teams in their division have, assuming the Bengals can extend Trey Hendrickson and get that situation resolved. But the Ravens, that's really one of the big things and why you project them to be so high with their win total. The favorites to win this division, possibly one of the favorites to go to the Super Bowl, is they don't really have that one big thing that you go, okay, just stick your thumb in it and you can beat them, right? Even when we talk about the edge rushers, it's still a solid group as opposed to an elite one. So I think that's part of the beauty of this Ravens team is there's just not one huge weakness.
Yeah. A solid group of edge rushers, not a solid quarterback. One of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, two-time MVP Lamar Jackson. What makes him so special, Dalton?
I mean, at this point, everything. What we've seen in his development as a passer over the last 2 years with Todd Monken as his offensive coordinator, the ability to win now in the drop-back game, because he used to be very play-action dependent, right? And he was figuring everything out. He wasn't the most polished passer coming out of Louisville. Now, you look at Lamar Jackson, and there's really no weakness in his game. The only thing people are going to point to is, well, he hasn't gotten to a Super Bowl. He hasn't won a ring yet. But that really, look, even in the playoff game against Buffalo, wasn't great in the first half, but he drove his team down to tie the game and made the throw to tie the game, and Mark Andrews dropped it. So you look at Lamar Jackson all the way around, one of the most dynamic runners we've ever seen. Now he's become an elite passer, the first quarterback in PFF history to have a 90 passing grade and a 90 rushing grade in the same season last year. So certainly, obviously, Josh Allen won the MVP, but Lamar had a great argument, and you just see his development development and as a passer, and John Harbaugh's even said this recently, he believes he's one of the all-time great passers now, and it feels like over the last couple of years, he's become that. If he continues the dual threat momentum that he's got, the Ravens should be one of the inner circle contenders to win a Super Bowl, but it's just everything. Best big-time throw rate of his career, best turnover-worthy play rate of his career. He continues to get into his prime and get better and better, even though he's already a two-time MVP. It's just unbelievable, his development with his arm and then what he still brings with his feet to the ground game.
He won 2 MVPs, but it felt like 2024 was his best season we've ever seen from Lamar Jackson.
You could argue it. I mean, I make the argument that Allen probably should have won it in 23 and then Lamar should have won it last year. But, I mean, you know how these voting things go sometimes. But there's no question. I mean, unquestionably one of the 4 best quarterbacks. And I'm sure the people of Baltimore feel like he's the best quarterback in the NFL.
I believe we had him QB3 in our offseason rankings. Yeah, QB3 for that. 94.9 PFF grade last year, career high. Also led all quarterbacks in the NFL. 93.3 passing grade last year. Also led all quarterbacks in the NFL. Just such a cool development to see Lamar Jackson become one of the elite drop-back passers in the NFL. Because we knew, coming out of Louisville, we knew this guy was a special generational runner at quarterback. But there were a lot of people saying, oh, he's got to play wide receiver. He's got to play running back. He plays quarterback. Now he's one of the best passers in the NFL. Just such a cool development to see him become just a guy who could win from the pocket, too. That's the guy who's going to make you miss and make plays downfield. He is just an incredible passer now, and now it's obvious why he's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. And another guy, Dalton, who's really helping him out in that backfield is Derrick Henry, who joined the Ravens last year, coming over from the Titans after a legendary career in Tennessee. And he had his best year ever in 2024, when usually when running backs hit 30 years old, the wheels start to come off a little bit. Derrick Henry, the wheels are coming on for him right now. He led the NFL with a 93.5 rushing grade and 89 broken tackles last year. Henry averaged 6 yards per carry, the most in the NFL last year. And Dalton, how about this? In all 11 games where he had at least 90 yards on the ground, the Ravens won. So he is a guy that you just need to feed him the football. It's incredible what he's doing right now. A future Hall of Fame running back Derrick Henry is. I believe he's led the NFL in yards after contact in 4 of the last 5 seasons, I believe. He is just an incredible presence. And in Tennessee, he was the guy the defenses had to key in on, right? So now in Baltimore, you got a 2-time MVP in Lamar Jackson, who also defenses need to keep an eye on when he's running the football too. And also he's one of the best passers in the NFL. Now Derrick Henry, the boxes can't be that heavy against Derrick Henry. You're seeing him just dominate right now.
Absolutely. He's got why he had his most efficient season last year is because now he's got the extra space that Lamar Jackson as the option threat affords him. When you have a guy that you just don't have to account for up front, and even if he gets free, he still has to tackle Derrick Henry. It's honestly just unfair. The nightmare that we thought this backfield could be when they signed Derrick Henry last year, it became that and so much more. There are days when this team is simply unstoppable just because of those 2 guys in the backfield. Can I throw one more Lamar Jackson stat at you real quick? So the Ravens, because they have Jackson and they have such a high floor as a team and they're always in games, right? They don't lose games by 2 scores very often. They have not lost a game by two scores or more with Lamar Jackson starting at quarterback since week 10 of 2021.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a couple of games they lost where he didn't play, but the last time Lamar Jackson lost a game by at least 2 scores was week 10 of 2021.
That's
insane.
Just
beyond ridiculous. The level, the floor that he gives you as the elite quarterback that he is, and then the rest of the team obviously is very good. It's just insane. When you're in, even when you lose, when you're right down to the wire in every single game, that's just ridiculous.
So we broke down already a superstar quarterback in Lamar Jackson, a superstar running back in Derrick Henry, and Dalton, the Ravens also have the best safety in the NFL in Kyle Hamilton.
Absolutely. I mean, Kyle Hamilton, you could argue the best safety in the NFL, arguably the most versatile safety in the NFL. He was the 2nd highest graded safety in football behind Kirby Joseph last year, his first 90 PFF grade of his career just 3 years into it. And you look at the impact that he has all over the field. We've seen him have years where he played primarily in the slot, and he's excellent there. He's big enough to be the extra linebacker in run fits. He's fast enough to play free safety. And I think that's the thing that impressed me the most last year is when this Ravens team turned around, especially in their second half of the regular season. They were arguably the best coverage team in football. And it was actually because they simplified Hamilton's role and just said, look, we need you to just be the free safety, be the center fielder back there. We're going to simplify the coverages. We're going to go a lot of cover 3, a lot of single high defenses. And the fact that he's an elite center fielder, he's an elite player in the slot. slot. He's one of the best slot players we have. He can, again, play in run defense. He can rush the passer. He's just one of the few players in football that can do everything. We've seen only a handful of those guys even throughout the history of PFF over the last decade. Eric Weddle, Derwin James, Kyle Hamilton, Brian Branch is a little bit of that for Detroit, but Hamilton, the size, the speed, the power when it comes to tackling, just everything that he has, he's the glue that holds the entire Ravens back seven together. And what he allows them to do, especially in those single high defenses as the free safety back there, you just can't take shots on this team because number 14 is always looming.
He's a versatile chess piece, honestly. And we mentioned before the Ravens have a little bit of a question mark at edge defender, not a question mark at safety. They might have the best safety duo in the NFL very, very soon because Kyle Hamilton, in my opinion, in our PFF's opinion, really is the number one safety in the league. Also, the Ravens drafted Malachi Starks, who's our rookie to watch right now for the Baltimore Ravens. He will take on a much bigger role than expected this year because Darius Washington is probably going to be out for the entire season with a torn Achilles. Starks, though, was outstanding. He is ready for the moment right now. 87.5 PFF grade across his 3 years at Georgia on nearly 2,500 snaps, too. A lot like Kyle Hamilton, Dalton. He could play in the slot. He could play free safety. He could play in the box. And now you have two safeties who are just versatile chess pieces in that defense. I cannot wait to watch Malachi Starks in that secondary, in our opinion, the best secondary in the NFL going into next year. And like I said, you have Kyle Hamilton, who's a very young player, who's drafted in 2022. Now you have Malachi Starks, who's just drafted in 2025. Hamilton's already a superstar. We think Starks will be one of the best safeties in the NFL, too. This will soon be, in my opinion, the best safety duo in the NFL.
And Starks is so comfortable in all of those roles, like you mentioned, and he's probably going to play a similar role to what our Darius Washington did last year. It was a lot in the slot. It was a lot down towards the box with Hamilton as the free safety. And look, there's going to be times where that flips and they want Hamilton down low too, but Starks is just, if he feels like such a safe player, right? We watched him the last couple of years at Georgia. He's a great tackler. He can play man-to-man on slot receivers if you want him to. There's even some people who thought, you know what, if this guy wanted to be a corner, maybe he could be, but so talented, and what he adds to this defense is just going to be really immeasurable. When you talk about him and then the addition of Jair Alexander on the outside, this does have a chance to be the best secondary in football as long as the starting five stay healthy.
Absolutely. So before we move on to the bottom line for the Ravens right now, we want to help you guys out, put some money, put some cheddar in your pockets right now too. Ben Lindsay, who is a guru in terms of winning bets, he is constantly nailing all these parlays, all these outlandish bets. He actually put together the best bet for every single team season long next year. We're going to break down his bets right now. And remind you guys, too, a lot of our betting insights, again, available with the PFF Plus subscription at subscribe.pff.com. So for the Ravens, his best bet of the year is Zay Flowers over 900.5 receiving yards, which is minus 110 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. His reasoning for that, Flowers cleared 1,000 yards last season, and he's once again the top target for Lamar Jackson in a Ravens offense that passed a lot more in neutral situations than they have in the last 2 years under Todd Monken. So I like this bet a lot too, Dalton. As probably the number one guy. I know they brought in DeAndre Hopkins too, but Zay Flowers is still that number one receiver in that offense. As the number one guy who had over 1,000 yards last year, I think over 900.5 receiving yards at minus 110 odds right now, that's a really good bet.
No, I think it absolutely is. He had over 1,000 last year, and I think the bigger thing for me is he's led the team easily in targets over the last 2 years. 216 regular season targets over the last 2 years, 112 last year. I mean, you talk about, they brought in DeAndre Hopkins. Obviously, they have Rashad Bateman. They have the great tight ends, but he's the most versatile player in their offense. And when you think about how he can attack all the levels of a defense, right? He's got the speed to threaten deep downfield. He's a good intermediate route runner. He's going to get all the touches when it comes to the screen game, right, on the outside. So, and a lot of those RPO looks. So, Flowers, I mean, as long as he plays 17 games, there really isn't any reason he shouldn't clear 900 yards. I think that's a great bet.
Absolutely. All right, so Baltimore's win total is set at, I believe, 11.5 right now, or 10.5. I got to see the line right now. But what is the bottom line for Baltimore? We have them projected to win 11 games this year. What is a successful season for the Ravens this year?
Well, and when we have these projected win totals in the PFF system, that's really a median total, right? So when you talk about a median total being 11 for this team, that's what we're expecting them to win, and anything beyond that is just playing a little bit above their capability. The fact is with the Ravens is that if you're taking pretty much any list of, okay, here are the top 5 most likely teams to win a Super Bowl, the Ravens pretty much have to be in it. They've been right on the cusp every year. They've come up a little bit short in big playoff playoff moments, even in close games. We saw it again last year in Buffalo with the drops and just having a rough first half against the Bills. But I think the expectation for this team is you're an inner circle Super Bowl contender. We expect you to win a Super Bowl with this quarterback, with this running back, with the defense the way it improved down the stretch last season. I just think that's the expectation. I mean, there's so few teams in the league that are allowed to be Super Bowl or bust, especially on a yearly basis. But I think we're going to talk about all three of the big teams in the AFC. Eventually, the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens, they all have the same set of expectations, and that's to win a Super Bowl. The Ravens season will be defined in moments, especially in the postseason.
Just feels like they're one of the most balanced teams in the NFL. They had the best offense last year in terms of PFF grade and EPA per play. 6th best defense in PFF grade, 7th best in EPA per play last year too. This is a balanced team all the way around, and you're right, they got to come up big in big moments in playoffs. It's really just holding them back right now. They have not made the Super Bowl since they won it in 2012 with Joe Flacco. So I think I'm going to spoil it right now. I think I'm picking the Ravens to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm all in on this team right now. I think they did a great job this offseason too, and they were already an amazing team last year. It just feels like one of these years they're going to get over the hump. I'm banking on it being this year too. But, yeah, I think this is at least a top 4 or 5 team in the NFL, and like you said, in the inner circle for Super Bowl contenders right now.
To me, when we talk about the other 3 elite quarterbacks aside from Patrick Mahomes, and the feeling with all of them is, well, one of these years, right? One of these years. But the Ravens team feels like the best equipped to do that, right? Obviously, the Bengals have issues on the O-line and on defense. The Bills have their issues, and they have a lot of young pieces on defense. The Ravens defense and the rest of their team, they're ready for it. They just have to do it in those big moments. They're absolutely ready to win a championship. It's just about getting over that hump and getting through the AFC gauntlet when you have to play Allen, when you have to play Mahomes and anybody else that's coming behind him in the AFC too, because it's still a loaded conference.
Absolutely. So, Baltimore Ravens, back-to-back AFC North champions, have a great shot at winning the AFC North once again in 2025.